There are many different kinds of choirs, and one of the most common ways to characterize choirs would be by their gender mix. The conventional choir would be one with both male and female members. Of course, they would have four basic voice types or ranges: soprano, alto, tenor, or bass, also known as SATB. This would be slightly different from the classical voice types, with a greater variety ranging from soprano and mezzo soprano to baritone and of course bass. The soprano is the highest female voice type. There are many types of sopranos, and all of them differ in vocal agility, vocal weight, timbre, and voice quality. All of the sopranos have the common ability to sing high notes with ease. A typical soprano can vocalize B3 to C6, though a soprano coloratura can sing a lot higher than that, reaching to F6 and even G6. The mezzo soprano is the second highest female voice type. In a choir, a mezzo soprano will usually sing along the sopranos, but not the altos, and will be given the title of soprano 2. However, when the soprano is split in half, she will sing a lower melody as her timbre is darker and her tessitura is lower than the sopranos. Though in the opera, the mezzo-sopranos most often hold the supporting roles and trouser roles, also known as male roles. There are notable exceptions like those in Carmen and Rosine and Barbara in Seville, where the prima donna is a mezzo-soprano. A typical mezzo-soprano can vocalize from G3 to A5, though some can't sing as high and some can sing as high as a typical soprano. The contraltos, also known as the altos, are the lowest female voice type. In a choir, the altos are usually to sing the supporting melody to the sopranos. However, this doesn't mean that the altos are not as important. On the opposite, because the true altos are hard to find. Also, a true alto has a greater chances of a solo career than a soprano. An alto is usually expected to be able to vocalize from E3 to F5. However, the lower her tessitura, the more valuable she is. The countertenor is the rarest of all voice type, and is a male singer who can sing as high as a soprano or mezzo-soprano, utilizing natural head resonance. As I said before, countertenors are extremely hard to come along, and their ability to sing as high as C6 is admired by religious music connoisseurs. Though extremely unique, a countertenor is not an operatic voice type, as historically it was a castrati who could be chosen for the female operatic roles. It was not proper for women to sing in the opera. Instead, countertenors were popular in religious choirs, where women were also not allowed to participate. Also, what's interesting to note is that countertenors would usually replace the women roles in opera. The tenor is the highest male voice line in a typical choir. Though it is the voice type with the smallest range, it barely covers 2 octaves from C6 to B4. Tenors are the most sought after choir singers for 2 major reasons. One is that there is not as many men singing under the choirs to begin with, and 2 is that most men singers are not fall under the baritone voice type. In the opera, the primo uomo is most often a tenor, and you'll know above that he is a tenor because of the ringing quality in his voice. A true tenor has a high tessitura above the middle of C4 and uses a blend of head resonance and falsetto as opposed to falsetto alone. Most baritones will try to use this technique to classify as tenor, and some will be successful. You'll know who they are because they're red-faced when they try to sing the high notes in the tenor melodic rhyme. Baritones are usually the most common male voice type you'll see. Although common, baritone is not at all ordinary. Actually, the weight and power of his voice gives baritone a very masculine feel, something that in the opera has been used in the roles of generals and most notably noblemen. People such as Don Giovanni, Figaro, Rigoletto, and Nabucco are all baritones. In a choir, a baritone will never learn about the particulars of his voice, since he will have to sing either with the tenors or basses. Most baritones with a high tessitura choose to sing with the tenors, and respectively, the ones with a lower tessitura sing with the basses. Their range is anywhere between a G2 and a G4, but they can extend either way. If you sing tenor you can't reach the higher notes with ease, or sing bass you can't reach the lower notes naturally, you're most probably a baritone, but you shouldn't worry about it. Let your fellow singers help you out. They're here to help. Now, the basses are the lowest male voice type, and thus a bass sings the lowest notes in a choir. Most people tend to think the deep bass notes as compare those of a violoncello. Though some charismatic basses can hit lower notes than those of a cello, a bass will be asked to sing anywhere between D2 and E4. A cello's lowest note is a C2. Just with every extreme, it's really hard to find true basses and almost impossible in younger ages where the male bodies are still developing. So in high school choirs, it's extremely difficult. So overall, while it may be hard to find, we need all these voice parts to create a perfect choir. That's why your voice must be tested, otherwise you're just going to sound really weird and you won't be able to hit those notes and you'll be looking like a tomato. So if you're high female, you go soprano. If you're low female, you go alto. If you're a high male, you go tenor. If you're a low male, you go baritone or bass. We need all these parts in a choir to create the perfect harmony.